Captain Yuki stared at the scanner display, her heart racing. The readings made no sense. Deep in the void sector where no ship should exist, something massive waited in the darkness between stars. Commander Hajin, you need to see this, she called across the bridge of the research vessel Harmony's Edge. Her voice trembled despite her efforts to stay calm. Hajin walked over, his blue-scaled alien features showing concern. As a coalition officer, he had seen many strange things in space, but Yuki's expression worried him. She was usually the calmest person on the ship. What is it, Captain? He asked, looking at the screen. Energy readings, but not like anything in our databases. Yuki pointed to the strange patterns flowing across her monitor. The signature is old, really old, but the power source is still active. Dr. Nari hurried over from her science station. The elderly alien had spent her life studying lost civilizations. Her tentacles moved quickly as she examined the data. This is impossible, she whispered. What's impossible? Hajin demanded. These energy patterns. I've seen them before in ancient records. Nari's voice grew quiet. They matched theoretical designs from the extinct human archives. The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew about humans. They had been a strange species that appeared briefly in galactic history before vanishing 200 years ago. Their home planet Earth had been destroyed in what looked like a natural disaster. No humans had been seen since. Humans are extinct, Hajin said firmly. Everyone knows that. Yuki touched the small pendant around her neck. Her grandmother had given it to her, claiming it was from old Earth. Maybe not all of them, she said quietly. We should report this to Coalition Command, Hajin suggested. Let them send a proper military ship to investigate. No, Yuki's voice was strong now. We're scientists. This is why we're here, to discover new things. She turned to the helm officer. Set course for the energy source. Maximum safe speed. The Harmony's Edge moved deeper into the void sector. Hours passed as they followed the strange readings. Finally, their target appeared on the main screen. It was enormous. The ship hung in space like a dark mountain. Its hull was black metal that seemed to absorb light. Strange angles and sharp edges gave it a threatening appearance. It was easily 3 times larger than their research vessel. By the 7 suns, Dr. Nari breathed. Look at the design. Those are human markings. On the side of the great ship, faded but still visible, were symbols. Nari ran them through her translation programs. UES Conquest, she read aloud. United Earthship Conquest. A human warship, Yuki whispered. But how is it still here? And why is it so much bigger than anything humans were supposed to have? Hajin studied the massive vessel through the sensors. It's not responding to our communications. No movement. But there are definitely power readings coming from inside. It's like it's sleeping, observed Lieutenant Kwan from the tactical station. Dr. Nari was scanning every inch of the ship. The technology readings are incredible. This ship has systems we don't understand. Some of the materials aren't even in our databases. How advanced were humans, really? Yuki asked. According to our records, they were primitive when they disappeared. Basic space travel, simple weapons, nothing like this. Nari gestured at the massive warship. This ship suggests they were far more advanced than we thought. Hajin didn't like what he was seeing. The ship looked dangerous even while inactive. Captain, I recommend we maintain our distance and call for backup. This could be a threat. But Yuki was already moving toward the shuttle bay. Prepare a boarding party. I'm going over there. Absolutely not, Hajin said. We don't know what's on that ship. It could be booby-trapped or worse. Commander, my grandmother told me stories about humans, about how they survived impossible things. If there are answers about what really happened to humanity, they're on that ship. Yuki looked at her crew. I need volunteers. This could be dangerous, Dr. Nari immediately stepped forward. I've studied human culture my entire career. I have to see this. Lieutenant Kwan also volunteered along with 2 security officers. Hajin tried to talk them out of it, but finally agreed to come along to keep them safe. The shuttle approached the human warship slowly. Up close, it was even more impressive and frightening. The hull was covered in what looked like weapon ports. Armor plating was thick enough to stop anything the Coalition had. There, Dr. Nari pointed to an airlock. Standard human design according to the archives. They docked carefully. The airlock cycled normally, suggesting the ship's basic systems were still working. The boarding party entered cautiously, weapons ready. The corridors inside were dark and cold. Emergency lighting flickered on as they moved deeper into the ship. The walls were metal, with human writing in several places. Everything was larger than expected, built for a ship much bigger than humans were supposed to have. The artificial gravity is working, noted Lieutenant Kwan. And there's atmosphere. Old, but breathable. They found a main corridor and followed it toward the center of the ship. Yuki felt strange walking through the halls. Something about the design felt familiar, like a half-remembered dream. "Look at this," Dr. Nari called from a side room. Computer terminals. Still active. The screen showed complex displays in human languages. Dr. Nari worked on translating them. Ship status reports. Crew manifest. This ship has been here for exactly 200 years. Right when humans were supposed to have gone extinct, Yuki realized. They moved deeper into the ship, finding more active systems. Everything was in standby mode as if waiting for something. The ship felt like a sleeping giant. Finally, they reached what looked like the command center. It was a massive room with dozens of stations. At the center was a captain's chair facing a huge main screen. But it was what they found next that changed everything. Behind the command center, they discovered rows and rows of pods. They were marked with human symbols and had small windows. Dr. Nari scanned one with her equipment. "Life signs," she whispered. "Faint, but definitely there. These are cryo-sleep chambers. And they're occupied." Yuki looked at the hundreds of pods stretching into the darkness. "How many?" "I'm reading at least 3,000 life signs throughout the ship." "Captain, there are 3,000 humans sleeping in this vessel." Hajin felt a chill run down his spine. "We need to leave now before we wake them up." But it was too late. As Dr. Nari's scans reached the central pods, alarms began to sound throughout the ship. Red lights flashed as automated systems came online. The main screen in the command center lit up with human text. "Awakening protocol initiated," the computer announced in perfect human English. "Crew revival commencing." Throughout the ship, the cryopods began to open with soft hissing sounds. Steam poured out as the first occupants started to wake up after 2 centuries of sleep. Yuki grabbed Dr. Nari's arm. "What did we do?" "We found them," Nari replied, her voice full of fear and wonder. "The humans aren't extinct. They've been here all along, waiting." The first footsteps echoed through the corridors as the crew of the UES Conquest began to wake up, and from the size of the ship and the number of pods, it was clear that these weren't refugees or survivors. They were something else entirely. Something the galaxy wasn't prepared for. Captain Yuki stared at the scanner display, her heart racing. The readings made no sense. Deep in the void sector where no ship should exist, something massive waited in the darkness between stars. "Commander Hajin, you need to see this," she called across the bridge of the research vessel Harmony's Edge. Her voice trembled despite her efforts to stay calm. Hajin walked over, his blue-scaled alien features showing concern. As a coalition officer, he had seen many strange things in space, but Yuki's expression worried him. She was usually the calmest person on the ship. "What is it, Captain?" he asked, looking at the screen. "Energy readings, but not like anything in our databases." Yuki pointed to the strange patterns flowing across her monitor. "The signature is old, really old, but the power source is still active." Dr. Nari hurried over from her science station. The elderly alien had spent her life studying lost civilizations. Her tentacles moved quickly as she examined the data. "This is impossible," she whispered. "What's impossible?" Hajin demanded. "These energy patterns. I've seen them before in ancient records." Nari's voice grew quiet. They matched theoretical designs from the extinct human archives. The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew about humans. They had been a strange species that appeared briefly in galactic history before vanishing 200 years ago. Their home planet Earth had been destroyed in what looked like a natural disaster. No humans had been seen since. "Humans are extinct," Hajin said firmly. "Everyone knows that." Yuki touched the small pendant around her neck. Her grandmother had given it to her, claiming it was from old Earth. "Maybe not all of them," she said quietly. "We should report this to Coalition Command," Hajin suggested. "Let them send a proper military ship to investigate." "No." Yuki's voice was strong now. "We're scientists. This is why we're here, to discover new things." She turned to the helm officer. "Set course for the energy source. Maximum safe speed." The Harmony's Edge moved deeper into the void sector. Hours passed as they followed the strange readings. Finally, their target appeared on the main screen. It was enormous. The ship hung in space like a dark mountain. Its hull was black metal. The first human to emerge from the cryopods was tall and muscular. His hair was black with streaks of gray, and his eyes were sharp and alert despite having slept for 2 centuries. He wore a military uniform with symbols that Dr. Nari recognized as rank insignia. Admiral Daehyun, he said to himself, reading his own name tag as if remembering who he was. His voice was strong and commanding. Behind him, other pods opened. Men and women in similar uniforms began to wake up. They moved with the discipline of trained soldiers, quickly checking their equipment and surroundings. Captain Yuki and her team watched from the shadows of the command center. Hajin wanted to retreat, but Yuki held up her hand for silence. She needed to understand what was happening. Status report. Admiral Daehyun called out as he reached the command center. A woman with short black hair hurried to a control station. Lieutenant Yunji reporting, sir. All systems show green. We've been in cryosleep for exactly 200 years, 4 months and 16 days. Any external contacts? The Admiral asked. Yes, sir. Unknown vessel docked to Airlock 7. 5 life forms detected aboard our ship. Admiral Daehyun smiled, but it wasn't a friendly expression. So the galaxy finally found us. Bring them to me. Before Yuki's team could run, soldiers appeared in the corridors behind them. The humans moved fast and worked together perfectly. Within minutes, the coalition team was surrounded and brought before the Admiral. Interesting, Admiral Daehyun said, studying his prisoners. Coalition uniforms. And one of you looks almost human. He stared at Captain Yuki. What's your name? Captain Yuki of the Coalition research vessel Harmony's Edge, she replied, trying to sound confident. Yuki, a human name. How curious. The Admiral walked around her slowly. Tell me, Captain Yuki, what do you know about humanity? The records say humans went extinct 200 years ago when Earth was destroyed, she answered. Admiral Daehyun laughed. It was a cold, harsh sound. Extinct? Is that what they told you? A man in engineer's clothing approached the Admiral. Sir Engineer Minho reporting. All ship systems are coming online perfectly. The AI has been monitoring galactic communications for the entire time we slept. Excellent. What did our electronic ears hear, Minho? The galaxy is peaceful, sir. The Coalition has maintained order through diplomacy and trade for the past 2 centuries. No major wars. Very little military activity. Perfect, the Admiral said with satisfaction. Just as we planned. Dr. Nari couldn't stay quiet any longer. Planned? What did you plan? Admiral Daehyun turned to face her. Doctor, isn't it obvious? We plan to conquer the galaxy. The words hit the Coalition team like a physical blow. Hajin stepped forward angrily. The galaxy is at peace. We don't need conquerors. Peace. Lieutenant Unji looked up from her station. Sir, I'm reading the Coalition's crime statistics. Piracy, smuggling, planetary conflicts, resource wars. You call this peace? Those are minor problems, Hajin protested. We solve them through negotiation and cooperation. How human of you, Admiral Daehyun said mockingly. But you're not human, are you? You don't understand efficiency. He gestured to Engineer Minho, who activated the main screen. Star maps appeared, showing the entire galaxy. Red dots began appearing throughout known space. What are those? Captain Yuki asked, though she was afraid of the answer. Those are our ships, the Admiral replied. 47 vessels like this one, positioned throughout the galaxy, all waiting for our signal. Dr. Nari stared at the display in horror. 47 ships this size? That's impossible. Where did you build them? In systems beyond your charts, Engineer Minho explained proudly. Hidden shipyards that we've been operating for 2 centuries. Automated factories that build 1 ship every 4 years. But why? Yuki asked. Why hide for so long? Admiral Daehyun sat down in his command chair. Because rushing into conquest is foolish. We needed to prepare, study our enemies, build superior technology. Lieutenant Yunji brought up new displays. Our surveillance networks have been watching Coalition worlds for decades. We know your ship designs, your tactics, your weaknesses. We know which planets have the best resources and which populations will be easiest to control. Earth wasn't destroyed by accident, Admiral Daehyun continued. We destroyed it ourselves, made it look like a natural disaster. The Coalition assumed humanity was extinct, so they stopped looking for us. The perfect cover. Hajin couldn't believe what he was hearing. You destroyed your own planet? Billions of people died. Billions of weak people, the Admiral corrected. We saved the best. The smartest scientists, the strongest soldiers, the most skilled engineers. Everyone you see on this ship was chosen for their abilities. We've spent 200 years becoming perfect, Lieutenant Yunji added. Perfect soldiers, perfect ships, perfect plans. Engineer Minho showed them technical displays. Our weapons can crack planets. Our shields can stop anything the Coalition has. Our drives are 3 times faster than yours. Most importantly, Admiral Daehyun said, we understand something the Coalition never learned. The universe is dangerous. Peace only exists when someone strong enough maintains it. The Coalition maintains peace through cooperation, Dr. Nari argued. The Coalition maintains weakness through cooperation, the Admiral replied. Every species following their own nature, their own interests. No unified command, no clear purpose. He stood up and walked to the main screen. Humans are different. We unite under strong leadership. We work toward common goals. We sacrifice for the greater good. You sacrifice others for your own good, Hajin said angrily. If necessary, yes. Admiral Daehyun didn't seem bothered by the accusation. That's what leadership means. Making hard choices so others don't have to. Lieutenant Yunji received a signal at her station. Sir, all 47 ships report ready status. The fleet awaits your orders. What fleet? Captain Yuki asked weakly. The Conquest Fleet, Engineer Minho answered with pride. Every ship carries 3,000 crew members. Elite soldiers, scientists, and administrators. We have 141,000 humans ready to take control of the galaxy. You can't control billions of beings with such a small force, Dr. Nari protested. We don't need to control them directly, Admiral Daehyun explained. We control the important things. Trade routes, communication networks, military installations, government centers. The populations will adapt to our leadership because we'll prove it works better than their chaos. And if they don't adapt? Hajin asked. The Admiral's expression grew cold. Then we'll help them understand the benefits of cooperation. He turned to Lieutenant Yunji. Signal the fleet. Operation Galaxy's Dawn begins now. Yes, sir, she replied, sending coded messages across space. Throughout the galaxy, hidden human ships began to move. They emerged from asteroid fields, gas clouds, and dark matter regions where they had waited for decades. Each ship was massive, deadly, and filled with humans who had spent 2 centuries preparing for this moment. You're making a mistake, Captain Yuki said desperately. The galaxy doesn't need to be conquered. The Coalition works. People are happy. People are content, Admiral Daehyun corrected. But contentment isn't progress. Under human leadership, every species will reach their full potential. Under human control, you mean? Hajin said bitterly. Control, leadership, guidance. Call it whatever makes you comfortable. The Admiral looked at the display showing Coalition space. The result will be the same. A galaxy that works efficiently instead of stumbling through diplomatic compromises. Red warning lights began flashing throughout Coalition space as human ships appeared near major worlds. The 200-year plan was finally beginning. It's too late to stop this, Admiral Daehyun told his prisoners. But you can help your people adapt to the new reality. Cooperation will be rewarded. Resistance will be discouraged. Captain Yuki looked at the star map showing human ships surrounding Coalition worlds. 47 massive warships against a peaceful civilization that had never prepared for war. The humans had spent 2 centuries getting ready for this moment. The galaxy had spent the same time forgetting how to fight. It wasn't going to be a fair contest. The main screen in the UES Conquest Command Center lit up with incoming communications. Ship after ship reported in as the hidden human fleet revealed itself across the galaxy. UES Dominion reporting. Fleet Admiral Jiwon commanding. All stealth operations complete. We control the Galactic Trade Center. U.S. victory here. Captain Sunho reporting. Coalition military headquarters is surrounded. They cannot send reinforcements. UES Phoenix standing by. We have taken the main communication hub. All Coalition messages now pass through our filters. Admiral Daehyun listened to each report with satisfaction. The plan was working perfectly. Excellent. Fleet Admiral Jiwon, you may begin the next phase. Captain Yuki watched in horror as reports came in from across Coalition space. The humans had struck everywhere at once. They had surrounded important planets, blocked trade routes, and cut off communication between Coalition worlds. How long have you been planning this? She asked. 200 years. Admiral Daehyun replied calmly. Every detail was considered. Every possible coalition response was studied. Lieutenant Unji brought up tactical displays showing the current situation. Coalition forces were scattered and confused. Their peaceful ships were no match for human warships that had been designed for conquest. The Coalition Defense Force is trying to respond, she reported, but their ships are too slow and too weak. Our vessels are destroying them easily. Dr. Nari stared at the displays showing destroyed Coalition vessels. Those are research ships. Hospital ships. You're attacking non-combatants. We're removing obstacles to efficient governance, Admiral Dahyun corrected. Every coalition ship that stands in our way delays the peace we're bringing to the galaxy. A new communication came through from Captain Sunho. His face appeared on the screen, showing a human with sharp features and calculating eyes. Admiral, the coalition is attempting to organize a defense fleet at the Nebulon system. They're gathering what ships they can from nearby sectors. How many vessels? Admiral Dahyun asked. Approximately 60 ships of various classes, mostly civilian vessels with basic weapons. Against how many of ours? 12 human ships are in range to respond. Admiral Dahyun smiled coldly. 12 against 60. Almost fair odds. Commander Hajin couldn't stay quiet. 60 ships against 12. You're outnumbered 5-1. Are we? Engineer Minho brought up technical comparisons on his screen. Our ships are 3 times larger, 5 times faster, and 10 times more heavily armed. Our shields can absorb their entire fleet's firepower without taking damage. More importantly, Lieutenant Yunji added, we know exactly what they're going to do. We've studied coalition military tactics for decades. They always try the same diplomatic approaches before fighting. They announce their intentions. They give warnings. They try to minimize casualties, all of which gives us time to position ourselves perfectly, Admiral Dahyun concluded. Another communication came in, this time from Fleet Admiral Jiwon aboard the UES Dominion. She was an older woman with gray hair and eyes like steel. Admiral Dahyun, I have the Coalition Council on screen. They wish to negotiate. Put them through. The screen split to show a group of aliens in a meeting room. Captain Yuki recognized several species from different Coalition worlds. They looked frightened and confused. Unknown human forces, the lead council member began. We request immediate cessation of hostilities. The Coalition offers full diplomatic immunity and safe passage if you withdraw from our space. Admiral Dahyun laughed. Council members, I am Admiral Dahyun of the United Earth Defense Force. We are not invading your space. We are claiming it. Claiming it? The council member looked shocked. On what authority? On the authority of superior force and better leadership, the Admiral replied simply. The Coalition has had 200 years to prove that peaceful cooperation works. The result is a galaxy full of small conflicts, inefficient trade, and wasted resources. We have maintained peace for 2 centuries, another council member protested. You have maintained stagnation, Fleet Admiral Jiwon interjected from her ship. Human analysis shows that galactic civilization could be 300% more efficient under proper management. Dr. Nari found her voice. You can't just take over entire civilizations because you think you can run them better. Why not? Admiral Dahyun asked seriously. If a building is poorly managed, you replace the management. If a ship has a bad captain, you get a new captain. The galaxy has bad leadership, so we're providing better leadership. But people have the right to choose their own leaders, Captain Yuki argued. People have the right to good leadership, the Admiral corrected. Choice is less important than results. The Coalition Council was trying to maintain diplomatic contact. If you have grievances with Coalition policy, we can discuss them through proper channels. Violence is not necessary. Violence is the most efficient solution, Captain Sunho reported from his ship. The Coalition Defense Force at Nebulon is approaching. Should we engage? Show them what human efficiency looks like, Admiral Dahyun ordered. The main screen switched to a tactical view of the Nebulon system. 60 Coalition ships approached in a loose formation. They moved slowly and carefully, still broadcasting requests for negotiation. 12 human ships waited for them, arranged in a perfect battle formation. When the Coalition fleet came within range, the human ships opened fire simultaneously. The result was devastating. Human weapons tore through Coalition shields like they weren't there. Ships that had served the Coalition for decades were destroyed in seconds. The few Coalition vessels that tried to return fire found their weapons useless against human armor. Within 10 minutes, the entire coalition defense fleet was gone. Not one human ship had taken significant damage. 60 ships destroyed, Lieutenant Yunji reported. 0 human casualties. The Coalition Council watched their fleet's destruction in stunned silence. Finally, one of them spoke. "This is impossible. No one has weapons that powerful." "Humans do," Admiral Daehyun replied. "We've spent 2 centuries perfecting the technology of war, while you played at diplomacy." Engineer Minho brought up displays showing human technological advances. "Our weapons use focused quantum energy. Our shields manipulate gravity itself. Our ships are built from materials that don't exist in Coalition databases. More importantly," Fleet Admiral Jiwon added, "our crews are trained from childhood for military service. Every human on these ships has spent their entire life preparing for conquest." Captain Yuki felt sick watching the destruction. "How can you be so calm about killing so many people?" "Every Coalition ship we destroy now saves lives later," Admiral Daehyun explained. "Quick, decisive action prevents long, bloody wars. The Coalition will surrender rather than see more of their people die," Lieutenant Yunji predicted. Humans understand psychology as well as technology, but her prediction was wrong. Instead of surrendering, Coalition worlds began arming themselves desperately. They pulled ships from trade routes, converted civilian vessels into military ships, and called up reserves they hadn't used in generations. "They're going to fight," Dr. Nari observed, reading the reports coming in. "Let them," Admiral Daehyun said without concern. "It will only prove our point faster. Their desperate resistance will show everyone how much better life will be under human rule." Throughout the galaxy, more human ships revealed themselves. They had been hiding in asteroid belts, gas clouds, and dark matter regions for decades. Each ship contained 3,000 humans who had spent their lives preparing for this moment. Total human force, 141,000 personnel, Engineer Minho reported, versus approximately 40 billion Coalition citizens. "Numbers don't matter when you have superior technology and training," Admiral Daehyun pointed out. "Alexander conquered the known world with 30,000 soldiers. We have better odds than he did." The communication from the Coalition Council came through again. This time they looked desperate. "Please," the lead member begged. "We can work together. There must be a peaceful solution." "There is," Fleet Admiral Jiwon replied. "Complete surrender of all Coalition military forces and acceptance of human governance. Your populations will be treated fairly under our administration. We cannot surrender our people's freedom," the council member said firmly. "Then you choose war," Admiral Daehyun concluded. "History will remember that the Coalition chose conflict over cooperation." He cut the communication and turned to his crew. "Signal all ships. Operation Galaxy's Dawn moves to Phase 2. Begin occupation of strategic systems." Across the galaxy, human ships moved toward their targets. They had spent 2 centuries planning this moment, and nothing was going to stop them from claiming what they believed was rightfully theirs. The age of Coalition peace was ending. The age of human efficiency was about to begin. 3 weeks after the first human ships revealed themselves, the galaxy had changed completely. Admiral Daehyun stood on the bridge of the UES Conquest, watching reports from conquered worlds stream across his screens. "Colony 7 has accepted human administration," Lieutenant Unji reported. "The local population actually seems relieved." "Of course they are," Admiral Daehyun replied. "We ended their piracy problem in 2 days, something the Coalition couldn't solve in 20 years. Captain Yuki had been forced to watch as human forces swept through Coalition space. What disturbed her most was how effective they were. The humans didn't just conquer, they improved everything they touched. "I don't understand," she said to Admiral Daehyun. "If you're really trying to help these worlds, why did you need to attack them?" "Because people resist change even when it's good for them," the Admiral explained. "Watch this." He activated a communication link to one of the recently conquered worlds. The screen showed a busy spaceport where ships loaded and unloaded cargo efficiently. Everything moved in perfect order. "This is the Kepler trade station," Admiral Daehyun said. 3 weeks ago, it took 6 hours for a cargo ship to complete loading and leave. Pirates attacked 1 ship out of every 50. Corruption cost traders 30% of their profits. The image switched to show current operations. Now ships are loaded in 90 minutes. We have eliminated piracy completely. Corruption is 0. Traders make 40% more profit. Dr. Nari studied the footage. How did you do it so quickly? Engineer Minho answered from his station. Simple. We studied this station for 5 years. We knew exactly what was wrong and how to fix it. We removed corrupt officials and replaced them with humans trained in efficient administration, Lieutenant Yunji added. We installed new security systems that prevent crime before it happens. We streamlined all procedures to eliminate waste. But what about the local government? Captain Yuki asked. The people who used to run that station? The honest ones were promoted to advisory positions, Admiral Daehyun replied. The corrupt ones were imprisoned. The incompetent ones were retrained or reassigned. Another report came in from Captain Sunho. Admiral, I have news from the Vegan system. The coalition is organizing another defense fleet. How large? Admiral Daehyun asked. 300 ships this time. They're gathering vessels from across their remaining territory. Lieutenant Unji looked worried. That's 25 ships for every one of ours in that sector. Still manageable, the Admiral decided. But it shows the coalition is learning. They're finally taking this seriously. Dr. Nari couldn't understand the human confidence. 300 ships against 12. How can you think those are good odds? Because we know something the coalition doesn't, Engineer Minho explained. Their ships aren't designed for real war. They're built for patrol duty and cargo protection. He brought up technical displays showing coalition ship designs. Look at this. Their weapons are designed to disable, not destroy. Their shields prioritize efficiency over strength. Their crews are trained for peacekeeping, not combat. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Unji added, every human ship is a weapon of war. Every system is designed for maximum destructive power. Every crew member has trained for combat since childhood. More importantly, Admiral Daehyun said, we understand their psychology. Coalition forces announce their intentions, give warnings, and try to minimize casualties, all of which makes them predictable. A new communication came in from Fleet Admiral Jiwon. Her ship, the UES Dominion, was leading the occupation of the coalition capital system. Admiral Daehyun, I have important news. Dr. Hyerim has completed her analysis of coalition psychology. The screen split to show Dr. Hyerim, a human scientist with intelligent eyes and a calm manner. Admiral, my research confirms our predictions about coalition behavior patterns. Explain, Admiral Daehyun ordered. Each species in the coalition maintains its own cultural identity and decision-making process, Dr. Hyerim began. They cooperate, but they don't truly unite. This creates predictable weaknesses. She brought up psychological profiles of different alien species. The Centaurians value honor above efficiency. The Vegans prioritize consensus above speed. The Andromedans avoid risk above all else. So, Captain Yuki asked. So we can predict exactly how each species will react to our occupation, Dr. Hyerim explained. The Centaurians will resist openly and honorably. The Vegans will debate endlessly before taking action. The Andromedans will surrender quickly to avoid casualties. This allows us to tailor our approach to each species. Admiral Daehyun added, we give the Centaurians a chance to fight honorably before they surrender. We present the Vegans with logical arguments for cooperation. We show the Andromedans that resistance is futile. Engineer Minho displayed maps showing human occupation patterns. We've already implemented species-specific administration on 47 worlds. Resistance has dropped to less than 5%. You're manipulating them, Dr. Nari accused. We're understanding them, Admiral Daehyun corrected. The coalition treats all species the same, which satisfies no one completely. We treat each species according to their nature, which makes everyone happier. But you're still forcing them to accept human rule, Captain Yuki pointed out. We're providing them with better leadership than they had before, the Admiral replied. Results matter more than methods. A priority communication came in from the front lines. Captain Sunho's face appeared on screen showing excitement and concern. Admiral, the coalition fleet has engaged us at Vegan Prime, but something unexpected is happening. Report, Admiral Daehyun ordered. The coalition forces aren't fighting like they did before. They're using new tactics, unpredictable movements, chaotic attack patterns. Lieutenant Unji frowned. That doesn't match their psychological profiles. No, it doesn't, Captain Sunho agreed. It's like they've abandoned their normal behavior. They're fighting desperately without their usual caution. Dr. Hyerim looked troubled. Desperate beings can become unpredictable. When people feel they have nothing left to lose, they stop following their cultural patterns. Admiral Daehyun studied the tactical display showing the battle at Vegan Prime. For the first time since the conquest began, human ships were taking serious damage. They're adapting, he realized. The coalition is finally learning to fight like their survival depends on it. Should we send reinforcements? Lieutenant Yoonji asked. No. This is a learning experience for us too. Admiral Daehyun watched as coalition ships used suicide attacks and desperate gambits. We assumed we understood them completely. But desperate people can surprise even the best analysis. The battle raged for hours. Human ships still won in the end, but they took casualties for the first time. 3 human vessels were seriously damaged and 1 was completely destroyed. First human ship lost. Engineer Minho reported quietly. 3,000 crew members, the bridge fell silent. For 2 centuries, human planning had been perfect. Human technology had been superior. Human psychology had been correct. But now coalition forces were fighting with desperate creativity that no amount of planning could predict. The coalition is changing, Dr. Nari observed. Your conquest is forcing them to evolve. Evolution requires pressure, Admiral Daehyun replied, but his voice was less confident than before. We're helping them become stronger. But they're becoming stronger in opposition to you, Captain Yuki pointed out. You're creating the very resistance that you're trying to prevent. Fleet Admiral Jiwon's communication came through again. Admiral, we need to discuss strategy. The coalition is not behaving as predicted. Agreed, Admiral Daehyun replied. It appears that desperation makes people more dangerous than we calculated. For the first time since waking up, the humans faced a problem they hadn't prepared for. The coalition was learning to fight back, and their desperate creativity was proving harder to defeat than their organized military forces. Perhaps, Dr. Hiram suggested quietly, we underestimated the power of fighting for freedom. Admiral Daehyun stared at the tactical displays showing ongoing battles across the galaxy. The conquest was still proceeding, but it was no longer the easy victory they had planned. The galaxy was fighting back, and it was fighting harder than any human calculation had predicted. 6 months after the human conquest began, Fleet Admiral Jiwon stood on the bridge of the UES Dominion, staring at tactical displays that showed a galaxy at war. What was supposed to be a quick, efficient takeover had become a grinding conflict. Status report, she ordered her staff. Human forces control 60% of coalition space, her tactical officer reported. But resistance is increasing, not decreasing. Coalition forces are using new tactics we haven't seen before. They're learning, Engineer Minho observed from his station aboard the UES Conquest. His image appeared on the communication screen. The coalition has abandoned their peacekeeping strategies and developed actual military tactics. Admiral Daehyun joined the conference call from his ship. More concerning, they're working together better than they ever did before. Our psychological profiles predicted that pressure would divide them. Instead, it's uniting them. Captain Yuki, still held prisoner on the conquest, listened to the reports with mixed feelings. The coalition was fighting back, but the cost was enormous. Billions of people had died in the ongoing war. The latest intelligence is troubling, Dr. Hiram reported from her research station. Coalition scientists are reverse engineering our technology. They're sharing discoveries between species faster than we anticipated. How is that possible? Fleet Admiral Jiwon demanded. Our technology is centuries ahead of theirs. Desperation breeds innovation, Dr. Hiram explained. When people fight for survival, they find solutions they never would have discovered in peaceful times. Lieutenant Yoonji brought up displays showing the current battlefield situation. The coalition's new unified fleet is approaching the Centauri system. They have 800 ships. Against how many of ours? Admiral Daehyun asked. 37 vessels in range to respond. For the first time since the conquest began, human forces were seriously outnumbered. Even with superior technology, facing 21 ships for every human vessel was dangerous. They're forcing us into the kind of battle we wanted to avoid, Admiral Daehyun realized. A direct confrontation with everything at stake. Captain Sunho's communication came through from the front lines. Admiral, the coalition fleet is different from before. They're using our own tactics against us. Perfect formations, coordinated attacks, no warnings or negotiations. They've learned to fight like humans, Lieutenant Yoonji observed. But they're still not humans, Admiral Daehyun replied grimly. We'll show them the difference. The battle for the Centauri system began at dawn. Human ships moved with their usual precision, but the Coalition fleet responded with tactics that had been copied directly from human strategies. For the first time, Coalition forces gave no warnings, made no demands for surrender, and showed no mercy. Captain Yuki watched the battle unfold on the main screen. Ships on both sides exploded in brilliant flashes. For every Coalition vessel destroyed, the humans lost equipment and crew they couldn't easily replace. Our reinforcement ships are 6 months away, Engineer Minho reported. The Coalition is building new ships every week. They have the advantage of fighting in their own territory, Dr. Hiram added. Access to shipyards, supplies, and fresh recruits. Admiral Daehyun studied the tactical display as human ships fought desperately against overwhelming numbers. Signal the fleet. Begin withdrawal to defensive positions. It was the first time human forces had retreated since the conquest began. Sir? Lieutenant Yunji looked shocked. We're pulling back? We're consolidating our gains, the Admiral corrected. No point in losing ships we can't replace. But Captain Yuki saw the truth in his eyes. The humans were learning what the Coalition had known all along, that conquest was easier than control, and control was easier than keeping it. The battle raged for 3 days. When it ended, both sides had paid a terrible price. The Coalition lost 400 ships, but they had forced the humans to abandon an entire star system. First human retreat in the war, Fleet Admiral Jiwon announced grimly. Losses: 12 ships destroyed, 15 heavily damaged. Coalition losses? Admiral Daehyun asked. 406 ships destroyed. But they're calling it a victory because we withdrew. Captain Yuki couldn't stay quiet. Maybe because it is a victory. You came to conquer the galaxy and now you're retreating. We're regrouping, Admiral Daehyun insisted. This is a temporary setback, is it? Dr. Nari challenged. Your plan was based on quick victory and efficient control. But the galaxy is fighting back harder than you expected. Engineer Minho brought up resource calculations. At current loss rates, we can maintain the war for approximately 2 more years. After that, we'll lack the ships to hold our conquered territory. The Coalition can fight for decades, Lieutenant Yunji added reluctantly. They have more worlds, more resources, and more people. Fleet Admiral Jiwon's expression was troubled. Perhaps it's time to consider negotiation. Humans don't negotiate, Admiral Daehyun said automatically, but his voice lacked conviction. Maybe that's the problem, Captain Yuki suggested. Maybe the galaxy doesn't want to be conquered even by superior leaders. A priority alert interrupted their discussion. Dr. Hiram's voice was urgent. All commanders, we have a major problem. Our deep space monitoring stations are detecting new signals from outside Coalition space. What kind of signals? Admiral Daehyun demanded. Unknown technology. Massive energy signatures. Whatever's out there is far more advanced than anything we've seen. The main screen showed sensor readings from the galactic rim. Huge objects were moving toward known space, but their design and purpose were completely alien. They're not Coalition ships, Dr. Hiram confirmed. The technology is unlike anything in our databases. Engineer Minho ran quick calculations. Based on the energy signatures, these objects are the size of small moons. And they're all moving toward our conflict zone. How many? Fleet Admiral Jiwon asked. At least 50, possibly more. The implications hit everyone at once. The human Coalition war had attracted attention from something else. Something bigger and more dangerous than either side. Our conflict has been broadcasting across the galaxy for 6 months, Dr. Hiram explained. Energy weapons, quantum communications, massive fleet movements. We've been announcing our presence to anyone listening. Admiral Daehyun stared at the sensor readings. How long until they arrive? 6 months. Maybe less. Captain Yuki felt a chill of fear. What if they're hostile? What if they're not? Lieutenant Yunji asked. What if they're just curious about the noise we've been making? Doesn't matter, Admiral Daehyun decided. We need to end this war before they get here. He opened communications to the Coalition fleet. Coalition Command, this is Admiral Daehyun. We need to talk. The response came quickly. Commander Hajin's face appeared on screen. He looked older and more tired than when this all began. Admiral, the Coalition is listening. New threats are approaching from outside the galaxy. We detected at least 50 ships of unknown origin and hostile intent. They'll arrive in 6 months. Hajin studied the sensor data that Admiral Daehyun transmitted. This could be a trick. It's not. Fleet Admiral Jiwan interjected. Our monitoring stations confirm these readings. Whatever's coming is bigger than both our fleets combined. What do you propose? Hajin asked carefully. Temporary ceasefire, Admiral Daehyun replied. Joint defense preparations. We can return to our conflict after dealing with the external threat. Captain Yuki watched as the two military leaders negotiated. Both sides were exhausted from 6 months of war. Both sides had lost more than they could afford. Terms? Hajin demanded. No human expansion during the ceasefire. No coalition attacks on human-held territory. Shared intelligence on the approaching threat. And after we deal with these new arrivals, Admiral Daehyun was quiet for a long moment. We'll discuss that when the time comes. It wasn't a peace treaty. It wasn't even a real agreement, but it was an end to the shooting, at least temporarily. Agreed, Hajin finally said. Ceasefire begins immediately. As the communication ended, Captain Yuki looked at Admiral Daehyun. What happens now? Now we prepare to defend a galaxy that neither of us completely controls, he replied. The humans proved we could conquer. The coalition proved they wouldn't stay conquered. And something else is coming to prove that we're all smaller than we thought. The war had ended not with victory or defeat, but with the realization that bigger threats existed beyond their conflict. The galaxy was about to learn that human ambition and coalition cooperation might both be necessary for survival. In the distance, unknown ships continued their approach, carrying intentions that neither human nor coalition could predict. The age of conquest was ending. The age of survival was about to begin.